All right, so here's the type of quality issues we're having to deal with. Busted front bumper, bad tires. Over here we've got busted paint there and on top, and over here even more busted paint. And we've got right here a dent in the hood, and that was 4 out of 5 cars that have issues. So we have a quality crisis going on right now in the new and the used car markets, and it's one that's not likely to go away anytime soon, and I'll tell you why. So in the new car market, we just went through a time period where suppliers, these manufacturers, could not get the parts they need to actually finish the cars to be able to get them out to dealers. And it was all because the supply chains were cut off, and the whole COVID thing. We're not going to go through that, but we know why. Prices went through the roof, you couldn't get parts went through the roof, and it was putting really a chokehold on these manufacturers where they just couldn't get out product. So now we fast forward to now, and they're able to actually push out some production. They're able to get some parts, although the parts are still way expensive from where they were 3-4 years ago. So now that we went through this time period where there was no production, and then all of a sudden these manufacturers were able to produce, they had to do it at lightning fast pace to be able to get vehicles to their dealers. And what I suspect has happened is that maybe they cut some corners, maybe they rushed production a little too much to where quality has slipped. And we've already seen in the last year, recalls are going up, and issues in these cars that have been produced over the last 2 to 3 years are now starting to surface. They're starting to come out to show that maybe these manufacturers had maybe push production just a little bit too fast and let quality slip, because that low-hanging fruit of all the money that was in the system was just there, and they needed to get it. They needed to capitalize on it as quickly as possible. And another thing that's happened with a lot of these cars that were produced over the last 3 years is that you might have some actual functionality that is missing from these cars that they should have. So we've all read these stories, we've all seen the images of vehicles just sitting in fields, sitting in parking lots, waiting for these computer chips to get there so they can actually finish the vehicle. And what I've seen is that in a lot of cases, there have been manufacturers that have actually pushed out some of these vehicles without the necessary chips, and just limiting the features that a vehicle has, even though the vehicle was built with the intention of having these features. A good example would be that I've seen some vehicles that have been pushed out that they have the functionality, they have the buttons for heated seats, but because they were so tight with the chips, these manufacturers, they had to actually pick and choose which features that they were going to dedicate these chips for. So there have been cases where these vehicles have been pushed out. They're supposed to have heated seats, but they don't. I've seen stickers on these SUVs, these trucks, saying that there might be some features that this vehicle is equipped with, but actually do not function because of the supply chain, because of the chip shortage. So now another problem with these vehicles that were pushed out in the last 3 years is that everything's cost more. Parts have cost more, labor has cost way more, especially for these manufacturers, that they are actually having to use cheaper parts than maybe they would have used prior to, because they have to figure out ways to cut corners to keep their margins up to make more profit. And we all know that vehicles right now, they're way too expensive. It's crazy money for a lot of these SUVs and trucks that these manufacturers are pushing out. So even with these cost-cutting tactics, the prices are still elevated. But in a sense, these manufacturers had to take the route of cost-cutting and using cheaper parts, because at the end of the day, if they would use parts that they would have normally used 3 or 4 years ago, they're going to get to where they have to sell a Jeep Cherokee for $150,000. And we all know that that's not going to happen. So now, because of all of this, I think what you're going to see over the coming years is that you're going to see recalls go way up. I've even read articles now, there was one in Automotive News, that there is a worry that recall expenditures are going to go way up for these manufacturers, putting even more downward pressure on their margins, which will in turn cause them to keep prices higher for longer, because at the end of the day, they got to keep their margins. That's the way that they're making money, because they're not selling way more vehicles now, they're actually selling less. So that means they're going to have to continue to make more per vehicle. So now on the used side, this is a side I know, and it's a side I see every day. Look, we got busted bumper. Look, we got busted paint. These are the kind of cars that we're seeing come to auction now. We used to get a lot of vehicles that were just ready to be sold. They look nice. People were trading in these vehicles so that they can upgrade to a new vehicle, and not necessarily because they wanted or they needed to get rid of vehicles. And really right now, the reason why people are trading in vehicles is because they're junk and they need to upgrade to a car that's better than the one that they have to be able to just get to work. So we're getting all the trash here at auctions, and it's been way more apparent over the last 2 years, and it's getting worse and worse and worse. Because if you have a nice car, a good running car, something that you have paid off, you're not going to trade in that car right now and upgrade to a brand new car when the new cars are costing $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 for the same version of the car that you have, just years newer, and then trading in your paid off car for a $1,000, a $1,200 monthly payment. People just aren't doing that right now. They can't. Prices are too high, the monthly payments are too high, interest rates are too high, grocery store things are too high, eggs are too high, rent's too high, mortgage is too high, gas is too high. Did I get it all? I think so. No, there's tons of stuff. Just I know I'm making light of this, but everything just costs too much money right now that people aren't just wanting to upgrade their vehicle and add on another monthly payment that they might not have right now. All right, so another reason why the quality is going to slip and continue to slip in the used car market, as far as what dealers are seeing and what we're buying, is because the amount of repos have been spiking. And if you watch my channel for any amount of time, you know that I've been following this very closely, because this is a direct, this has a direct impact on our economy. If people can't pay for their cars, there's a lot of stuff they're not paying for either, and just the overall economy is going to suffer. And when you look at the repo market, you're going to see basically the image of what is about to happen in the economy, because they're going to lose their cars very quickly, especially from these buy here, pay here dealers, because they miss one payment, they miss two payments, they're getting their car snatched up. So I've been watching it very closely, and as you know, we've been seeing a lot more of them. But the quality of these repos are always just terrible. So they're not going to really give us any kind of help in the market as far as pricing goes, because a lot of them are just going to be unsellable. But it's still a larger volume of cars that are just trash, and we have to sift through all these cars to be able to find good ones. But even then, if we go the route where now, I mean, I have to look at repos more. I don't like buying them, but we have to look at them because there's just not enough trade-ins in the system. The trade-ins are the good cars, of the cars that we actually want to buy. So we have to sift through a lot of this trash, and we're probably going to buy some turds through these repos. And it really doesn't help us as dealers, even knowing that we're going into that situation. It actually makes it much tougher on us. It makes it a harder job for us to be able to go through these cars and actually check them and know which ones are good and bad, because this customer that got their car repoed, they got it repoed for one of two reasons. Either one, they just couldn't make the payment, they didn't have the money for it, or two, something was wrong with that car. And all these customers that use these buy here, pay here dealers, they don't really have money to begin with. So what ends up happening, if there's something that goes wrong with that car, say the transmission's slipping, say there's a heater core wrong, any amount of serious work that needs to be done to a vehicle, they're not going to do that work. They're either just going to drive it till it blows up, and then the dealer will go get the car when they stop making payments on something that won't run anymore. Or they're going to just say, you know what, I'm not making this repair on the car. And in many cases, I've heard from other dealers that do buy here, pay here, that if a customer knows that there's a repair that they're not going to fix, they'll literally just turn the car back into the dealer and say, hey, I'm not going to pay for it. You don't have to come repo it in the middle of the night or anything like that. You can literally just have the car back. I'm done with it. And they move on to the next buy here, pay here dealer, where they'll drop $900, $1,000 down and then just start the whole cycle over again. But all of that is just to say that the quality of these repos is not good. So the quality that we're actually having to sift through and buy is going down and down and down and down because these new car dealer trade-ins, they're just not happening right now. New car dealers are not able to sell their cars. We're running up on days of inventory, especially like Jeep, Ram, Dodge. These F-150s are getting into crazy numbers. So people who regularly would be trading in cars to buy those vehicles, they're not buying them right now. And how the used car market survives and how dealers like me survive is on these new car dealer trade-ins. So if these new car dealers are not lowering their prices, if interest rates aren't getting down to where monthly payments can be affordable to people, then we're not getting trade-ins. And it's going to just squeeze and squeeze and squeeze the used car inventory, and the quality is going to get worse and worse and worse, and the prices are going to stay elevated unless we get some kind of influx of inventory. And I've already told you, it's not going to be repos, and I don't see anything on the horizon that are going to make people buy more new vehicles. So we're just kind of stuck in between a rock and a hard place, making us sift through more of this garbage, more of these repos, to try to find vehicles that are halfway decent that we can sell. So now we've been talking about quality this whole video, but instead of just talking to you like most of these car market channels, I'm going to actually show you. I'm at a used car dealer auction right now. Obviously, you know, I'm a used car dealer by this point, I would think. I'm going to just run you through this whole lot and show you some of the quality that we have to deal with. All right, check this out. Looks like a dog got in here and just went to town. How does that even happen? Oh my goodness, ridiculous. There you go, more busted seats. I think the sun just baked this one and it just got stretched out so much that it just ripped. And this is a first for me. They actually have wrote on the windshield, "Do not run. There is a hole in the block." Once a beautiful car, we got missing parts and absolute filth. And more in the back. So if I buy this car, all of this can be mine. That's a good one. Old busted paint. And half the car missing. Only the front part though, you don't need that. And more trash. But with this one, comes with a Bojangles drink. Duct tape lights. This car wasn't only kissed, it looks like somebody tried to make out with it. Salvage title. All right, is that enough? You get the point. Quality at auctions, it's poopy. It's going to continue to be poopy. And unless we get more trade-ins, which is not going to happen anytime soon, it's going to stay right where it is. All right, so what does that mean for you as a consumer? What am I telling you to do with this information? Don't buy. Wait. I say that all the time, but if you do have to buy, I understand there's going to be some people in that situation where you have to buy a car right now because you just need one. You got to get to work, you got to feed your kids. If you're going to buy from a used car dealer, make sure you get it checked out. Make sure you have a mechanic lined up before you even start looking for a vehicle. I want you to get this car checked out before you purchase a vehicle, so you know exactly what you're buying and there's not anything that's hidden. I want you to be safe. I want you to be able to buy a car, feel comfortable in it, and not have any kind of hidden mechanical repairs that are going to come up right after you buy the car. But let me take a step back from there. Don't buy from a dealer. Don't buy from me. Don't buy from any other used car dealer if you can help it. I would rather see you buy from an individual. Even if it costs more money, now this sounds ridiculous, but you will be safer and you actually will get more value if you go this route. If you can buy from someone that you know, someone who you know has kept up a car, I'm fine with you paying a little bit more for that, just for you knowing the history, knowing that the car is kept up, knowing that the car is in sound condition right now. Because at the end of the day, when you buy from a dealer like me, I'm going to these auctions and I'm buying these cars. We're checking them out as well as we can. We're doing Carfaxes on these cars, but at the end of the day, I don't know how these cars are maintained. I don't know who owned it before I get to it, and all I can see is what I can see right here from this auction. Now we take it back to our shop, we drive it, we check oil, we check brakes, we go through it to make sure the car is safe, but I don't know how that car was maintained, and that can directly impact the longevity of a car. And when you go buy from a dealer like me, you're not going to know that. So don't buy from me. Don't buy from a used car dealer if you can help it. go and buy from an individual. Check out any family members that you know, any friends of family that you know, any organizations that you're in. Friends, go find a car from somebody like that where you can know the history on the vehicle, and you'll be so much safer when you buy a vehicle. So we have a supply, no, not a supply, quality. So we have a, I was about to say supply again. Why would I say supply? It's quality. So we have a quality crisis where I've talked to dealers that do this buy here, pay here system. No, that's stupid too. All right, so this row right here is another reason why quality is going to continuously go down, at least in the used car market. So all those cars I just showed you, they're all repos. And the,
I like dealing with them.
oh my goodness, these guys are talking so loud.